Hello and welcome to another video on Kabbalah, and today I want to talk about stories. We humans live in stories. We love stories. We listen to them, we watch them, we create them, we complain about them. But the story is the wrapping of our life, our story. But not only do we have our story, we have my story, we have humanity's story, and we have the great story. And Kabbalah teaches us how to access each of these levels. The first story that we're born into is the story around Malkut, Yesod, Hod, and Netzach. And it's a cyclical story about our tribe or our family. As humans, we're absolutely defenseless when we're born, and for several years, many animals just get up and run away from any kind of danger. But a child is stuck in the tribe. Mostly it's a family, but it may well not be a family. In the modern world, we don't have the structure of families that we always used to have. But whatever we're born into and we're raised in up to our teenage years is our story, because it's intrinsically linked to the stories of those around us. It also includes the story of our neighbourhood, our school, possibly even our country or our nation. And a lot of us just stay there forever. And round Yesod, you think, you feel, you act. You think, you feel, you act. You think, you feel, you act. And most of us think that we're doing a lot of new things, but actually we're not. I can quite candidly say that I thought in my late teens and in my 20s that I had quite a few relationships with men, but I didn't. I had one relationship with quite a few different men, and it was all based on who I thought I was, who I thought I was meant to be, whom I'd been programmed to be by my parents and by my peers and by my school, what class I was, what was expected of me, what was not expected of me, how I should behave, how I shouldn't behave. All of these become what's known as the false self. And this is the vessel in which we have to stand in order to grow, just like a plant. If we've got a strong vessel, we've got good clear boundaries, if we've got plenty of good nutrients in the compost, then the plant can grow and individuate into the plant that it's meant to be quite simply. However, if the compost is bad, if the container is cracked, if the upbringing is faulty, then it's much more difficult for the plant to grow. And many of us have experienced that. It's not necessarily our parents' fault. They could do the best they could do with what they were taught and how they were raised. And I know my mother threw me a much softer ball than her mother threw hers. However, it wasn't the best of the balls in the world. So I have a false self of who I thought I was. And the job of the human is to individuate, to come from Hod to Ferret, Netzach, to be who I came here to be, who you came here to be, the real you. And we grow into that in our 20s, sometimes a little bit earlier. And sometimes if the container is so cracked, we individuate far too early, which means that we are not safe in the world. We don't feel safe in the world. And there are two responses to that. We either hate the world and fight the world, become rebels, or we join a different tribe, a tribe that has got a strong container, some form of fundamentalism, which says this is the way it is. And we believe that we've individuated, and so briefly we have, but we've just gone into a different tribe. If we individuate clearly, if we know who we are, if we stand in our strength and say this is who I am, then we have more chance of accessing our soul here clearly and easily. Tiferet, Gevurah, Hesed, truth and beauty, discernment and loving kindness or mercy. This whole level of the soul is actually about justice. And I don't mean law, I don't mean what's fair, I mean what is right for humanity at that point. It isn't at the soul level about what's right for me. Because when we individuate, when we come to Tiferet, the idea is, for the Kabbalist, for the spiritual speaker, that you say to the Holy One, I have developed into who I actually am. What can I do in service? What can I do in service for humanity, for the evolution of humanity and for this planet? What is it that is mine to do? And of course that will change every day. Some of us have a life path and a destiny. The destiny is usually at the level of the soul. Fate, however, is at the level below Tiferet. So your fate depends on what's going on around you and how you react to it. Your destiny is how you step up as your true self to be of service in the evolution of creation. Now, these side triads here, which I mentioned last time, are fueled from our youth. They're fueled, and if we are not balanced, we'll tend to go up the side paths rather than up the central column to Tiferet. And the reason for that is, if we don't individuate particularly well, our thoughts and feelings at this level will come into these side triads here. And these are the collective unconscious of the emotions. So we generally really don't know what's there. It will feed down occasionally, but there's so much locked in there that we really don't know about. And it kind of swells. This is not a static picture. It kind of swells so that this, for example, this is the pain triad, the sorrow triad, which will swell out, and it can squash down on individuation, and it can squash into the soul, so that we become the story of our pain. We make our pain our identity. We are still grieving something that happened 10 or 15 years ago. That's when the pain becomes more important than the growth. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of people who've gone through tragedy do extraordinary things with it. It strengthens them through the sorrow. And you can see how that works, because they take the end results of that tragedy and what they've learned into the soul to be of benefit for humanity. However, so often we get caught in these side triads, and this is the one of oh my wounds, and this is the one of oh my addictions. Those are the unhealthy aspects. Everybody sorrows, everybody grieves, because the price of love is sorrow. And everybody has fun and enjoyment and more sometimes, and overdoes it a little bit sometimes, and that's this triad here. But when we get locked into these side triads without having the true self at Tiferet, the truth and beauty about who we really are, then we will spiral backwards and forwards between this. I feel pain, I'll have a drink. I'm in process of pain, therefore I'm going to do drugs. It's not fair what happened to me. I deserve more. I want more. And we can go round in another spiral here that goes round with Yesod and up and around Tiferet. But it isn't the true Tiferet, because it is locked into the pain. And we can see this a great deal at the moment after the COVID-19 pandemic and the whole vaccination issue. We have pro-vaccination, vaccination hesitation, and anti-vaccination. Now, there are levels in all three of these, but generally both sides, when they get fanatical about it, and both sides do, think that they are working from the level of the soul. Here's a little tip to tell you whether somebody's working from the level of the soul. If they say, I'm coming from the heart, or I'm coming from the soul, they're not. Because the heart and the soul, heart is here in the center of soul, has no need to tell you what it is. It just is. And it works with humility. So if you're going around saying, I'm right and you're wrong, then this is negative Tiferet, pride, and it is fueled by Yesod, which is in charge, and by the side triads here. So if you are vaccine hesitant, then you're probably assessing, working it out, and trying to assess from HOD the information you can get. My God, there's so much on the internet, and some of it is good and some of it is not. And actions. You're seeing what's actually happening in the world. And hopefully you can make your own decision. It is your decision to make, and it is the decision that is probably right for you. Coming from Tiferet, you will make the decision that is right for you. But if you're a true Tiferet, you will not judge another for making a different decision. You will understand that this whole thing is part of humanity's evolution and development or not. Therefore, understanding that going, I'm right and my people are right, my tribe are right, my pro-vaccination tribe are right, or my anti-vaccination tribe are right, is going to knock you right down to Yesod again. And it's going to make you believe that you are the only right ones in the world, for the simple reason that Yesod has to have an enemy. My tribe, your tribe. Yesod is essentially dualistic. The soul, which has access to the greater story, it's impregnated by the greater story, by the divine. The soul listens and it knows that there's a much bigger picture. A much bigger picture here. And if you can work from the soul, you'll know what is right for you in your place in humanity.